What's up, guys? Cole from Team Tempo here. Back at it again. Another episode of the Team Tempo's official podcast, Locals Legends. I'm here with my co-host.
Yo, it's Caleb. How's it going?
And it's Sang from Team Tempo as well.
And later in the episode, we're also going to have a special guest. And hopefully you guys enjoy hearing his experience about his first ever regional. But another thing we're going to start doing is we're going to have a kind of like a question of the day, but it's going to be the question of the episode. And the first question is going to be, what is your least favorite card of the format? I guess we're going to start with Caleb. What is your least favorite card of the format?
So my least favorite card of the format is Shifter, and it's probably always going to be Shifter. But I don't know, it just needs to go. It makes a lot of the decks that I play less fun. Auto lose almost sometimes. I like Graveyard.
Graveyard-based decks.
Exactly, so I would say that's my least favorite card of the format.
Yeah, I would agree. It's kind of like it's a pretty sacky card. I'm not gonna lie. Like if you just like declare standby and you just see your opponent drop it, you're like, okay, I guess I'm just not playing.
It's either they have it or they don't.
Yeah.
It's even worse when they shift their droll.
True.
Yep. Or they make you wait. You know that they're playing a Shifter deck, and they'll wait till the main phase just to tease you a little bit. And they're like, oh, I didn't draw it. Like, we can play for free, and then you'll activate your first card, and I'll change Shifter.
I hope I rip a Talents if that happens.
Me too.
What about you, Cole?
So for sure my least favorite card is Zealantis, and I put most of my blame or most of my hatred for this card, I blame it on Sang. Because when we play tested, tested a bunch, and like I never like read Zealantis, and he would always like special summon all my monsters based off attack. First round of the regional at Rosemont, my opponent summons all my stuff face down, and I'm like, what? I'm like, what the heck? This card does this? And I'm like, that's what I get for not reading this card and just trusting Sang.
But
dude.
Kind of a
the card's good. It never came up in testing against you.
Yeah, or you just didn't know it did that. Yeah.
Nah, dude.
So confusing card to me at first, like what the application would be, but now with Princess in the format, it definitely makes sense. Just makes things a little bit unfair, so I understand that.
Yeah, and then just going into battle phase and popping 2 cards too is
just really good. Just too strong right now. And then my least favorite card in format right now is probably Summon Limit. I think the card is just another floodgate. It's just good.
I feel like Konami's just gonna start hitting all the floodgates. This is gonna be the next one, because it's like it's awful when you like normal summon Ash, search popular effect, summon, and then they're like Summon Limit. You're like, okay, what do I do now?
I'm curious to see
how
the side decking is going to change if that gets banned as well, because then it's going to be a lot of anti-spell. Banned or limited, obviously. If they hit both of them, it might be different, but it'd be interesting to see side decks with no floodgates. But I'm sure somebody would find a way.
I would rather see an anti-spell than a Summon Limit.
Yeah.
It's so much easier to out.
Especially with the relevance of quick plays nowadays.
Yep.
Yeah, it would be kind of nice, though, like going into... like next set, like post next set, we're getting that new Snake Eyes card that can be searched that pops a Spell and Trap. So maybe that'll make it a little bit better. But
type in your comments down in the comments.
Type your comments down in the comments.
Get them down there, baby.
Yep.
All right.
You know what you guys think.
On Sunday, we went to a regional in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. 378 players, 9 rounds, and it was top 48. So this episode, we're just going to kind of go over our experiences. Like Cole said, we're going to get the new player experience. And we just got a couple extra things at the end as well. So I'll probably start it off here with my experience. So I did play all 9 rounds. My first round, I did play against Castira. He did not draw Shifter, which was really nice. Basically won me the game. But my first game, I got stopped with Droll, but I had Ash and Valor. So I Ashed the Unicorn, Valor the Theosis. And then I top decked and got out of there, and he won the game, or I won the game. Second,
I just wanted to ask, what I should probably say what deck you were playing.
Oh yeah, I was playing Voiceless Voice with a little bit of spice. Not much spice. It's just the branded stuff.
Some branded stuff.
Just the branded stuff. Yeah, game 2, I lost to Nib, and I forgot to out the token.
Oh
And he attacked
no.
for game. Yeah, so, and then game 3, I got jogging out. Game 1. Scoop. So, round 2, I went against the mirror match. This one was kind of, it seemed like a new player. So he was misplaying a lot, so I was kind of trying to help him through it, but I had a lot of advantage, drew really well. I set up my board and kind of just went through there on all 3 games. He did get me on the second game. We bricked like for 3 turns each and couldn't get anything out, which is sometimes how Voiceless goes. But
Yeah.
round 3, I also went against the mirror. Joggin locked him game 1, he scooped, and then game 2, he got greedy, went into SP with the low and the ritual, and then had the trap, and I knew he searched the trap, but I drew Cosmic. So I Cosmic'd it in the standby phase, and then I went into full combo, and he scooped again, so I 2-0 swept him in like 12 minutes.
Nice.
Game 4. This one, I went against Snake Eye Pure, and this was my first Snake Eye matchup. He did win the die roll. He actually made me go first, which was insane, and it didn't make any sense. I got a little bit scared. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna go in some crazy deck.
Like going second sprite or like something weird.
Yeah, he blind second. So I made my full board. He scooped, so I didn't know what he was playing, and then I sided in 2 Cosmics just to have him because I'm sure he's gonna try to floodgate me. And we ended up kind of doing hand trap wars. And he tried, his last play was the field spell to summon out, and I Cosmic'd it, and he scooped. So that was pretty nice. Game 5. I went against Sword Soul. This was probably one of the maybe the second most interesting match that I had because he was a really good player. He definitely knew what he was doing. It's probably somebody who's been playing Sword Soul since it came out, so just knows all those really weird lines. But he set up his board. I had 2 imperms and just kind of lost in the grind game. And then I set up a half board, but I drew the trap. And the trap is insane. He dustered me, so I chained the trap, still got out my negate, and then just kind of outgrinded him. And then game 3 was insane. We bricked. It was probably 8 turns, and I ended up grinding them out, which was really nice.
I like that. You're like, oh, it was insane. We both bricked.
Yeah, but those games are fun when you both brick because then it's just kind of like a lot of weird plays to get to certain things because usually when you're bricking this format, you have a bunch of hand traps. So that's kind of how it goes. Round 6 was my first loss. I went against Castira. I got shifted 3 times in 2 games. So
oh,
no. Voiceless can play through Shifter if you draw the right hand, but I did not. So that one was a little bit disappointing. The guy ended up finishing 10th, so that's pretty nice.
Nice.
Game 7, I went against Snake Eye. He nibbed me in turn 2, and then I didn't have Monster, but I did draw Spell Trap on my top deck, so we kind of grinded it up from there. He did full Snake Eye combo. I scooped, and then I jogged and locked him game 3.
Nice.
Game 8. Let's see. This one was against Pearly, and this was probably my least favorite matchup of the day. The guy was super cool. It was just kind of got down to it at the end and whatever. But I took game 1. He took game 2 and 3. Game 1, he lost to Imperm on the normal summon. He didn't have anything else to extend on Black Cat. Game 2, he outgrinded me, and then game 3 was a super grindy match. Apparently, I summoned Skull Guardian in defense, which doesn't make sense, but it is what it is. And then round 9, this was probably my favorite matchup of the day. It was super intense. Obviously, I was X2 at that point. I think I would have gotten in with X3, gotten my invite, but I was really shooting for the tie because our first game was, I think it was like 35 to 40 minutes.
It was a really long match. It was super grindy.
Yeah, it was, I don't even have notes for this one, but I know it was super grindy. Like I said, the first game was super long. We were both there was points where I thought I had it. There was points where I thought, like, this is over. And it was a really interesting game. And then game 2 went into it probably 5-10 minutes left. Another relatively grindy game. I had, like, just a normal summon low, and then he impermed it. He normal summoned Ash. I think I Veilered it. Or no, I'm sorry. He wanted Diabell Start and then sent Diabell Start with the original spell. I asked that and he passed with nothing, so I hit him for 50 with low with my normal summon low. And then we kind of went back and forth for a little bit, and I was down in life points with about 45 seconds left. I drew Branded Fusion for turn, and I branded Fusion into Jowgen. Or, I'm sorry, not into Jowgen, into Sanctifier by sending Jowgen. And attacked for game with probably, or not game, but for time with probably 5 seconds left. He was thinking, I was like, attempt to go to battle phase with about 8 seconds. He thought for 3 or 4 seconds. I'm like, dude, he's going to do something, and I'm going to lose. So it was really interesting. So I ended up going 6-2-1, and then if you want to go to the next slide, I won 5 of my dice rolls, which is really nice, and I did end up taking 30th. Nice. I think if I would have won that, I would have taken top 8 because I had really good tiebreakers. I played the guy who ended up finishing 3rd, and the guy who finished 10th, and then another guy who finished 32nd as well. So. So those were my matchups. Mostly 1/3 of it was Snake Eye, 2 Cash, the 2 Voiceless, Sword Soul, and Pearly. So what I expect at regionals, this is what I would love to play every regional. Like this type of meta, because that's what you test for. And it stinks when you're going up and you lose round variety. Yeah, you lose like round 1 or 2, and then you play like a lot of weird decks that you weren't really expecting. So I was really happy with all my matchups. I think it went really well. I had a good time.
Nice.
All right, so my regional experience, round 1, I went against Fire King Snake Eye.
I'm assuming by the
picture sorry, yeah. I was playing Centurion Super Heavy. I think the deck performed super well. I definitely want to play around with it more. But yeah, round 1, I lost the dice roll, and he normal summoned Ash. Snake Eye Ash, I effect failured it, and he passed, and then I just did Centurion things, and then summoned Calamity on his turn, and then he picked up his cards, and then we went to the next game, and then he went first. He set up a whole board. I didn't really have anything, lost that one, and then game 3, I was about to Calamity lock him, and then he chain droplets, and I lost the game there, so...
Oof.
Yeah.
So that was rough. And then my round 2 went against Cash. This guy bricked. It was funny because I was power shuffling my deck, and he was like, I'm going to power shuffle my deck too. And he's like, but I hate when I do this because I always open up 3-ofs. And I set up my board. I Calamity locked him. And he's like, I'm just going to scoop. I have 3-dimensional fissure in my hand. I'm like, that's rough, man. So that was a pretty fun match. And then round 3 went against Snake Eyes Pure. Calamity just doing its thing. It's probably my new favorite card. But nothing much to say about that. That guy kind of seemed like he didn't really know what he was doing with the deck. So then round 4, this is where it went downhill. Was not able to summon Calamity, so obviously it's a loss. But this guy, he just normal. He impermed the right target, and he was just able. And I also misplayed too. I had a play line where I made Sargus and then attacked, and I should have just made Zeus right away, and then he would have nibbed me there. But I got greedy and I summoned Trudea, and then I normal summoned Trudea, and then he nibbed me, and I was like, I was so dumb. I don't know why I did that. So, but round 5, we went against Raid Raptor. This guy sacked me super hard.
Let's go.
Yeah. He made the Raiders Knight, and I effect failured, and he chained Callby, and I chained another effect failure, and then he chained Cross out. I was like, all right, here we go. Yeah, do your thing. And
he's just nice like that.
Yeah, he's just nice like that. I wish I would open
people are just better.
Yep. But we ended up losing to that. And then round 6, we played Bestial Thunder. Or I played against Bestial Thunder Dragon. Calamity locked him. Game 1. Game 2 is just super grindy, and he ended up taking it. And then we went to Game 3, and KO got to witness in time this guy activated Assault Synchron.
To pay 7.
Yeah, to pay 7. And then
Meanwhile, I'm looking at this guy's hand, and he's got a Moonlit Chill and a Ghost Spell. I'm like,
and I got an effect veiler in. I'm like,
Yeah.
no matter what this guy's summoning to burn me, it's getting negated.
It's getting negated. It's over.
Yeah, and then he just like looked at he like summoned Scarlight, and then I effect veilered it, and he was like, well, I guess you just win. I'm like, yeah, I guess I just win. So, and then round 7 ended up tying against Snake Eyes Runic. This deck was actually kind of weird. It was like hard to play against the deck because I mean Runic is obviously has destruction, so hitting my field spell during the draw phase is like it's pretty rough not having the field spell. So it's kind of hard to play, but we ended up drawing because our game 1 was super long. Round 8, I went against Snake Eyes Pier and won the dice roll, and I Calamity locked him 2 games in a row, and it was like a 10-minute round. Totally washed that guy, and then I ended up dropping after that because I was X3-1 after that, but we got 7 out of 8 Calamity locks. We are doing it dirty to people. Hopefully that card dodges another ban list. I hope it does.
Not with the support.
Yeah. But as you can tell by my pie chart here, I had a super diverse day of just playing Snake Eyes variants.
It's nice that you saw different variants, though, I guess, at least. Like, it wasn't just kind of the same deck over and over again.
Half your matches were Snake Eyes variants.
Fire King. Yeah.
It made me really realize that I think Fire King variant is so much better than Pure. Because it's like, every time I went against Pure, it just felt like a total, like, washout. Like, I felt like I had control of the game. And like I knew I was gonna win, but like
I think I'm starting to lean that way as well. Just because a lot of the time, like if you imp or Veiler the Ash, it's if they didn't draw anything, it's just pass there, and like that feels so good. Especially for it being the best deck of the format. You'd think that it would be able to play through one hand trap, which most of the time it can, but it happens a lot more often than I would expect it to, where they just don't draw anything else.
Yeah, just mainly about the extenders that they can play. Or like for the Fire King variant, they could play Kieran and just get out of jail free card against the Imprimer Effect Veiler.
Exactly.
Alright. And then for my regional experience, I played Fire King Snake Eye. The heads up, I only got like 4 games of play testing before this.
But I mean, you've been playing the deck for a little bit. I mean,
I've been playing for a little bit. But if I probably play tested a little bit more, I think I would have clutched it out in the middle rounds. But round 1, I played against Marine Cess. I lost the Dyro. I got 2-0 over him. So game 1 was really funny. We sit down, round 1, getting ready, shuffle up our deck, give the opponent a cut. He wins the Dyro. He goes first. I'm like, okay. I open up my hand. I have like a couple of hand traps I can play through stuff. But I'm holding them. He normal summons Marine Cess monster that searches. He looks through his deck, and then he sees a couple of field centers just right inside his deck.
Oh, no.
I'm like, oh, what is this? He then proceeds to scoop it up, because if there was a judge call, he would probably get a game loss for that. Game 2 goes on. He makes me go first. I set up a board.
Imagine playing a Towers deck and making your opponent goes first.
Yeah.
Oh, no, wrong game. But he actually goes first. He just plays into a nib, and then I just win the next turn. Round 2, I faced against one of our friends, Team Temple member Travis. He was playing Branded. I lost the Dyro to him. Game 1, he just overextends into Nibiru, and then gets clapped by that. Game 2, he just doesn't open up that good. He gets out, what's it called? He just gets out a monster that does nothing, and then 2 set cards, and then I just play into that and just win.
Mm-hmm.
And then round 3, I face against Keshtira. I lost the Dyro yet again. Game 1, I take the game. He just doesn't have that much gas. Game 2, he gets it. And then game 3, he just bricks.
Mm-hmm.
And then round 4, I go up against
the Dark Ages.
the first of the Dark Ages, Voiceless Voice. He wins the Dyro. He goes first. Let me think. Goes first. This guy bricks going first. Doesn't have anything, passes. I misplay and don't get game. He takes game 1 after the following turn. Game 2, I just play it through his board. I just make a board. He can't play through it. And then game 3 was a grind game, and then he gets it in the end.
Mm-hmm.
Round 5 was against Sprite. I lost the Dyro. He goes first. He doesn't make that good of a board. But I can't break it, and I don't have that much resources left, so he just wins that out in the end. Game 2, I just make a board, and then with 3 hand traps, it was a Nib, Imperm, and Effect Veiler, and he can't play through that.
Nice.
And then game 3, my hand was Arvada, Triple T, Mourner, Nibiru, Cosmic. He goes first. He plays under the Nib, under 4 summons, makes Gigantic. I negate with Mourner. He then activates Starter to special red. And then he special summons another Sprite. Then he makes, what's it called? Sprint.
Mm-hmm.
Sprint sends specials 2. And then I activate Nib there because I can't do it anywhere else. And then he negates, and then he just makes a Melfi. Melfi XYZ2, and then he searches Caddy at the end phase.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm down 2 cards. I have 3 in hand. I draw my next card, my 6th card, and it was an Imperm. So that did not get me there. I tried to bait out a monster effect in the main phase, but he didn't activate anything, and I just proceed to lose the next turn.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this was the game that I after you came out, this is where I saw the kind of, you're like, oh shit, that one really sucked.
Yeah.
Like, especially when you brick like that at the end.
I felt like
play.
if I didn't misplay game 1, I would have just won it.
Yeah.
And then round 6 was against another Voiceless Voice. I lost the die roll yet again. Uneventful game. He just he just had negates out.
Classic Voiceless board.
Yep, just classic Voiceless Voice. Round 7, I went against Cash. I lost the die roll. Game 1. He takes game 1. We go side in game 2. I side out all my cross outs and called by my other hand traps to go first, and then I win that. And then game 3, he proceeds to go first. He looks at his hand. He special summons Fenrir. I negate with Ghost Mourner. He activates called by. I chain Effect Veiler, and then he sets 3 cards and pass.
Nice.
It goes to my turn. I look at my hand. I activate Sinful Spoils to search Diabellstar and draw phase. He thinks for a second, but he then proceeds to let it go. So I add the Diabellstar. I special it out in main phase. No effect. So he's thinking. He calls a judge over because he has a set card that he's asking if Diabellstar was an activated effect of special, which it isn't.
Mm-hmm.
It just specials itself by discarding. And then I attack over his Fenrir. I normal summon Popular main phase 2. It gets impermed. I then make what's it called? I send Popular to grave, make Link Karibo, activate Popular to go in the back row. I then try to make an SP, and then it gets Judgment, so he's down now even more.
He cited Judgment game 3? That's wild.
Game 3. Well, we still had like 20 minutes left in time.
Oh, okay.
All my games, I never went into time. And then he just top decked a Shifter, and I just top deck Ash for game.
Nice.
And then round 8, I win against Voiceless Voice. I lost the die roll.
No, you won this one. This is the one that you won.
Yeah, I won the die roll, actually. This one, I opened up, cross out, called by, and cross out called by a Triple T, Ash, and Diabellstar.
Oh my, that's disgusting.
So my board ended on with an Apple with 3 negates, a Flame Burst, an IP, and an Amphla Whale. And then, he activated Imprim on my summon. I chained Cross out. He activated Effect Failure. I chained
Called by.
And then that just killed him. Then game 2, he just wins it off a grind game. And then game 3, I go first. I make a board. He breaks most of it. Goes back to my turn. I make a Zelantis play. I pop his card. The turn before, I activated a cross out on a Druid Swarm that he had.
Nice.
Or no, I didn't activate cross out. I activated the Sinful Spoils to grab back the Diabellstar in my grave. So he didn't activate that. And then coming back to my turn, I did the Zelantis play. He had the Druid Swarm to destroy one of my monsters. I had to crash into it with Zelantis because I already popped 2 cards. And then my board was now Amphla Whale, Fire Princess, and a set card. He goes to his turn. He activates. He activates the continuous voiceless voice spell to search. He searches the Saravis effect monster, not the ritual.
Mm-hmm.
He specials it. He then searches the ritual somehow. I forgot how, but he has the ritual. He then activates Saphira to special summon Saravis ritual, and then he activates Low Engrave, and I chained summon limit, and then he loses from there.
Oh no!
And then round 9, I faced against someone from my locals. His name was Reed. He was playing Branded Chimera. He won the die roll. He then proceeded to lose game 1 to me from his board he won game 1 actually, and then I proceeded to win game 1 or game 2 and 3. Nice. And then afterwards, I went 6-3 at this regional. My place was 64th, X3. I talked with one of my friends over there, Micah. He got 49th. He was also X3. So there's just really, if I had better tiebreakers, there's very small chance I probably would have been around there as well.
I think there was 8 people that ended up being X3 that topped.
I got it? Okay, so yeah.
But it wasn't a lot.
So yeah, I faced against primarily Voiceless Voice, a couple of Kashtira, 2 branded variants, a Sprite, and a Marine Cess.
No mirror mesh.
No mirror mesh.
Any Fire King players.
Yeah. No Fire King and no Snake Eye.
That's wild.
Yeah, you really throw off the pie chart at the end.
Yeah.
8 lost die rolls though. That's wild.
That really sucked. Just losing the die rolls.
Yeah, it's impressive that you did so well. Not going first for 8 of your matches. So it's more of a props to you, if anything.
Yeah, I think what I could take out of this more is I just need to clean up my technical play a little bit. There's one time against the Voiceless Voice that passed on me. If I just activated Popular to set in the back row, that I could use it off original for more materials. But that's just like a hindsight kind of thing.
Yeah, and we can kind of talk about that right now. Are there any choices that you were glad that you made?
So for this regional, I decided to cut the field spell, the Snake Eyes field spell, and not to play that last second.
And how did that end up coming up?
I think if I might have had it, I could have played through one nib that happened to me. But besides that, it never really came up. Besides the point where I had both Popular and Original in hand, which that happened a couple of times. And so I would just normal summon Popular, no effect, and it wasn't that good.
Yeah, that was kind of one thing I noticed playing against a Snake Eye. Every time that they search field spell, I usually kind of get more excited because it's kind of one less thing I have to play through, unless I have obviously nib in hand.
If they search the field spell, it just knows, it telegraphs that they have the original already, or they have some way to get it.
What about you, Cole? Was there anything that you were glad that you ended up doing, or I know you switched actually, kind of
last second.
I was gonna bring Rock and Friends just to have some fun, but man, was I just testing with the boys Friday and Saturday before, just getting like absolutely shafted by one hand trap. Just felt really bad. So yeah, I switched. I wouldn't really change anything with the main deck. If the deck profile hopefully will be out soon, but I shout out Greg for he told me to run going second cards on my side and just side out all the super heavy stuff, and that like came up a lot, like just siding it evenlies and cosmics and stuff, like for going second and siding out the super heavy stuff and just like breaking boards. It felt really nice, so that was a really good change.
I think my best choice was I was considering playing the branded package or not. I was really 50-50 on it. My whole 2 weeks of like kind of heavy testing. Like one day I'd play it without, one day I'd play it with, and I'm really glad that I ended up playing it. And I'm actually glad that I ended up main decking Jaugen as well. It just gave me 2 free games, which is always really nice, you know. So that would be the best one. I also cut talents at the end in favor of Prosp, and the idea was kind of to be able to get access to Branded Fusion more, especially at the end of your plays if you already have negate set up. So I'm glad that I cut those. It definitely would have came up a couple of times, but didn't miss them too much at least.
Yeah.
Were there any regrets that you guys had with maybe like your deck building, choices you made, maybe specific like things or plays that you can remember that you regret?
Definitely playing into Nib against that Pearly guy. I wish I would have summoned the Zeus. Yeah, Zeus first and then summoned the Tridea. But I mean, like, I feel like, yeah, you just gotta always play around Nib. You should just know that in this format that everybody has it in their deck. They just try to play around it.
Can't relate. I activate cross out.
Yeah, must be nice being able to play spells.
So what did you guys? What were like the main decks that you were testing against, or like were most prepared for, if you had to say?
So for my limited testing before, I played against a bunch of voiceless voice, but it seems right now that's currently my kryptonite. Against the 3 that I played, I only got 1 of them. I think it's more just like technical play stuff that I need to brush up on. Against the Sprite's actually my kryptonite for some reason.
Well, you just haven't tested against it. I mean, it's been out of the meta for a while, so
it's barely that. I feel like he did play well around Nib. That's the thing I'll give him. He played really well around Nib.
Yeah, I know that was kind of the one thing I felt. It's like you kind of said, you haven't tested against it in a while, and that was Pearly for me. Like I didn't really expect to see it. So
same.
when it came up, it was something that like I knew how it played, but I don't remember a lot of the specifics and like some of those more technical plays, like you're saying. And it ended up losing me the game, you know. So that was definitely one thing I wish I would have prepared more against. Yeah.
I like to shout out Greg, hero players, because Greg's been playing a lot of Cash Hero right now, one of our team members. Yeah, just playing against a Cash Hero player like Greg compared to these Cash Hero players, they weren't as bad, but
they weren't as bad. You mean as good?
Yeah.
Damn, Greg getting called out on the podcast.
Yeah, I agree though.
Yeah, me and Cole had a conversation about that while we were there, because I went against Cash my first round, and playing against Greg, he's a very technical player. He knows what he's doing, and it was nice to kind of get that better testing, and then you could see where they were messing up their lines and how you could take advantage of that.
Yeah,
so that's a really nice thing.
Yeah, definitely just every week, like just playing with the boys and like just playing endless games against Greg's Cash, like it made me so confident in that matchup. And it's like
he's always got Shifter though.
He's always got Shifter, and that guy, that man never breaks, dude. He never breaks. Every Cash player I hear about, they break up. I'm bricked up. Greg, his deck is just down to a T, man. That guy never breaks.
You just need to open better than him.
Yeah.
Got his deck a little bit more.
Yeah, true. I'm gonna start power shuffling his deck.
All right, so that was our experience. But now we got our special guest here, and just a little introduction. He is a Magic player primarily, and this is he started playing on Master Duel. Really kind of got into it, you know. Sees it's the good things and bad things about it, but you know, we kind of talked him into coming to this one and giving us his experience. So this is Justin. and yeah, we're gonna kind of have him talk about his experience.
How's it going, Justin?
Wow!
Hey,
Needs a
Justin,
guitar
how's it going?
solo in this editor guitar solo right away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it is good to be on the podcast. It is really good to be on the podcast. As you know, my name is Justin here, and I am the newest appointed member of Team Tempo. This regional, it was my first ever public event for Yu-Gi-Oh! We skipped locals.
Yeah, we
went right
skipped
to the-
locals
we went
straight
right
to
up
it.
to the big. We went right to the big pond is what we did.
You don't need locals.
What deck did you play?
Yu-Gi-Oh! I played Fluanderies. I played shout out to Bruce. I was playing his Fluanderies deck, and I had learned it within about maybe 3-4 hours, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was the night before we decided to
It
switch
was
up.
right the night before I was having issues with my Labyrinth deck. I really enjoyed Labyrinth, but I've learned that it's a very surgically precise deck, and I've been missing out a lot on the when to activate like big welcomes and regular welcomes and what were the right cards to pop. So we instead decided to go for, as Bruce called it, a really easy deck, an easy kind of no thought deck. And I'm like, that's a really good idea because I don't like thinking.
Yeah. Just a quick shout out to the YouTube channel. Go check out the flu video that we posted. It was probably about a year ago now. It's still relevant though.
Just
Bruce
minus
talks
the
about
wind
it in
statue. Just ignore anything he says about the wind
Yeah.
statue.
Exactly. Otherwise, it's basically the same. But yeah, go check it out. He's got a lot of in-depth stuff. He's been playing it since release. So yeah.
All right,
Just wanted
Let's
to
get right into this.
Yep. So
No,
your
I
first
enjoyed-
round.
I enjoyed having to getting to meet the atmosphere and getting to know the people there. My first round was against regular, Pure Snake guys. It was a little tricky for me to figure out how to play into Pure Snake Eyes. I was watching a lot of it on Master Duel playing. I know the formats are different, but generally the same sort of combos go off.
Mhm.
So I kind of knew what to look for, but with a completely new deck underneath my belt, it was a little harder to try and figure out. I believe I did not win this dice roll on top, or just I don't think I won that one. I didn't really write down my dice rolls. I didn't remember that that's what we were supposed to write down, but I believe I didn't win the first one. So game one, he set up specifically right into the whole combo of Ash and Oak and the field spell, and then set up for Flamberge, and I saw Promethean right away, and I couldn't out it right away. He was able to, I think it was Ash. I think it was an Ash for Rabina specifically. So I really
Oh, it's
too
tough.
much. Yeah, it was a 1-2 punch right there, and like ooh. So I kind of scooped right away because there was no real way. I didn't open up with Shifter or Fisher. However, on game 2, that's when I opened up with Fisher and Shifter, and I was able to keep him completely just out of the loop. I was able to set up regular into Empin right off the bat, as well as was it Dreamy Town?
Mhm.
Was the trap
The
card?
trap, yeah.
Yeah, we hit Dreamy Town. We had that board set up, and he immediately scooped right away after realizing that he was underneath the effects of double Fisher and Shifter. So scooped right away. So I was really happy about that. That was my first official, match win. So a little nice about that.
Mm-hmm.
We went to third round, and I didn't. I want to remember. He kind of went in for. He was able to pop. What was it? Unexplored Winds was the one I contribute a monster with.
Mhm.
One of my opponents, or one of my opponent's cards in general.
Yep.
Yep.
He was able to out that with Nightmare Phoenix, and was able to. I don't remember how he negated the Empin specifically, but he was able to just punch right through Empin. I couldn't even do the discard. He punched right through it, and then I couldn't set up for turn 3, and then turn 4 was just game right there. So, all in all, the goal was just to see how far I could get in a tournament with just basically barely any knowledge underneath my belt. So I consider the round 2 being able to successfully hit the 1-2 punch of Shifter and Fisher. I felt like that was That was really nice.
Yeah, that's really impressive, especially going against arguably the best deck of the format.
To
In your
steal
first
it, win.
ever
Yeah.
local event, just to be able to get a game is pretty nice.
He was sweating pretty hard that round 3. He was really trying. I'm like, because I had everything set up, but he was able to punch over Enpin, so couldn't do too much about that.
Nice. What do we got for round 2? I watched this game. I was next to you.
My next one was Runic's Spellbook, and I knew a little bit about Runic. I was taking a look at a lot of the cards because I thought it was a really cool. The name is what initially set me off to being able to look at it and research it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I really had no clue what Spellbook did. I sort of looked at my opponent. And I'm like, yeah, that's good. I didn't want to be reading every single card, just off of, because otherwise it'd be taking too long, and we are already taking a little bit because
Said like a true Yu-Gi-Oh player.
Said like a true Yu-Gi-Oh player.
I didn't want to read every single card, and both the guy that sat across from me had I guess maybe his buddy or whatnot. They were more focused on talking, so I didn't really want to bother him too much. I mean, I know they're supposed to be hard focus into it, but they knew each other, and so I wasn't really too hard pressed about being a rule savant and whatnot. So I essentially had a lot of I was able to set up with Empin because he hit Rabina off the top with I don't remember exactly what.
Probably like
spells.
Tip, like Runic Tip, the one that
I think
searches.
it might have been Tip that he hit to banish it off the top, and I was able to hit Rabina. So I got into Empin, but then he was able to out it. I honestly don't even remember how he outed it per se, because it was all just nothing but spells. It was just nothing but spells. I watched spells hit the graveyard, spells hit the field, then right to the graveyard. I'm like, yeah, that's cool. That's great. Yeah, we didn't do too well on the second round as well, because I drew 3 pots. I think 2 prosps and 1 duality. Right? I think that was the duality one. Was the one where I could excavate 3. We hit 3 pots that day. We hit a lot of pots that day that sort of bricked my hands. Pots are too slow, man. Pots are too slow.
Pots are too slow.
Pots are too slow, man. They bricked it too hard for me.
It does stink when you draw more than one of the same one.
Absolutely.
A lot of them are once per turn, especially if you don't hit off them. It definitely stinks. Or if one of them gets ashed, the other one doesn't hit, whatever it might be.
And I don't believe I won this dice roll for this one.
What was that spicy spellcaster card that you were telling me about he was playing?
It was Gendu. It was a water spellcaster, and it was called Gendu, and he said it was
It's called Gendu the Aesthetic Monk. It's from Shining Victories. It's basically a baby M-Pen. It says face-up attack position monsters on the field cannot activate their effects. So it's almost better. Not really, obviously.
Not really, but yeah.
Effects are all monsters, not just special summon ones. And then this defense position monster can't be targeted or destroyed. That one doesn't come up, but yeah, he came back and told us about that, and I was extremely confused because I had no idea about that this card even existed.
It was a very spicy play because the guy told me specifically. He said, "Yeah, I side this card in specifically for going first against Flu," and I said, "That definitely worked. That definitely worked." As the guy running the Flu deck in the group, yeah, I couldn't do anything. So it was an overall loss on that one, but still, I got to learn about a cool new little mechanic and function right there, like a mini M-Pen that I had no idea about, which is really neat.
What was your round 3? Oh, voiceless?
Round 3 was voiceless voice. And
what do you think of this deck?
Very hard. I lost a dice roll on this one. I know this one for a fact because he had Skull Guardia out and then the continuous spell. And I believe he ashed Rabina again on the first round. Oh, no. So I really couldn't do too much, and he had low. He was able to get low out really quickly. So I remember playing from the night before on the regional against Caleb's voiceless voice, and I knew what to hit, but I didn't expect to get a voiceless voice in one of my matches because I had already lost 2. I was expecting to go down in the lower bracket, but overall, I I did side in the Cosmics, didn't draw them. I got 2 Pot of Prosts again that round. It's a common occurrence that I've been noticing that I keep getting a lot of pots in my
A lot of
draws.
pots. The
This was
consistency
also
pots.
a different version. He was playing the Dogmatica stuff with Nadir, which I think is probably even better against your deck because he was able to pop back row and things just off of Nadir Servant and then go full combo. I got to watch his last match, so it was a little bit different than mine. Set up essentially the same board, but yeah, it was a little bit better first for a flu matchup, I would say.
It was a little rough. I didn't know really what all to do, and brand new deck, so I was a little struggling there. Wasn't able to do too much against this voiceless voice deck specifically.
Round 4.
Round.
I want to hear about this. I want to hear about this deck. Dogmatica
This is the one I'm
Ethereum.
most interested to hear.
Yeah, me
That is
too.
This one was really interesting to me because I had looked up a little bit of Dogmatica stuff in the beginning, and I noticed that they were kind of neat. And he was able to activate Therian. The name of the cards, I'm not great with the names at all, but he had the Therian engine or something like that. It was a Therian engine he was able to discard.
It's the draw
aggro,
card.
Yeah, the Agro Excel engine or whatever it's called. For
some engine. I don't remember what the name was. My opponent wasn't really great at trying to explain the cards. A little hard to. And for me, not knowing anything about it, I'm like, oh yeah, I had to kind of take his word for it. I mean, I read him over, obviously, but first match I misplayed, and I searched for Empen when I thought I had Eaglin in hand, and I threw it down on the field as my search target. And I realized after I picked up my Empen, I realized I didn't have the continuous combo for the normal summon. So that was a misplay on my part. I probably could have gotten it better because I know that Dogmatica has the equip. I think it's like equip in the graveyard. Like they can special summon as long as they.
Most of their
The
main deck
Therion,
monsters
it's the
have
Therion monsters.
the Therion monsters have the effect to target one engrave and then equip it, and they get certain effects based on what's equipped. So yeah,
that one was a little rough. It was because of my misplay, but if I hadn't have misplayed, I'm 90% certain that this would have been a game. But because of my one misplay, and I didn't want to be like, oh, I want to take it back, I just kind of stuck with it. I just said, all right, I'm good. We'll run with it. So I scooped on that one right away. And then the second round was a tie. And I was very excited about that because that was considered a point on the board. And I was super stoked about getting a point on the board about that one. I did the combo correctly. I remembered to pull Eaglin this time instead. And I was able to just essentially half the attack of both creatures that he had. I don't remember what they were, but he had the engine out again, and he was not able to out me in time. And I was just kind of playing for time because it was about that. The first match was about 25 minutes. So I had about 20 minutes just to kind of keep the pace up and see if I can survive, which we ended up going right to timer, and I had the higher life points, so I was very stoked about that to get a tie.
Nice.
My opponent was very stoked as well because that was his first tie as well, so we kind of just sort of... We had the loser look on our faces where we're like, yeah, we'll take this. It's a point on the board. We had that... It was that deep bond of connection.
Yeah.
Of we're losers, but we'll take this because it's a point on the board.
It's something. Something's better than nothing.
Something is better than nothing.
All right, this was the big round.
This was my favorite round right here. First time playing out in public, and I get Exodiad on the first round. I was super stoked about that. I'm very stoked about that. Now, I know maybe that it's, it might be a bit, embarrassing to get beaten by an Exodia for the higher tier players, but as a new player, that was really cool. That was a really fun time.
Nice.
He had skill drain out for it was turn 2. I lost a dice roll on this one. Turn 2 skill drain. Couldn't do anything with Rabina, and I hadn't sided in, I didn't have main deck Cosmic Cyclones.
Mm-hmm.
So I wasn't able to out that until round 2. And he had milled a lot of the cards too, so I couldn't even hit anything. Everything was going to grave instead of being banished, which was very unfortunate. So we were able to just basically sit and watch, and I wanted to see the ride because I was also at the same time I saw he had Pot of Duality, the Excavate 3, and he excavated the left leg of the Forbidden One on his Excavate, and I looked and my eyes kind of glistened. I'm like, oh, this is an Exodia deck I'm up against, and I probably don't know what I'm gonna do about it. And I was kind of high key wanting to lose because it would have been a really funny story. But yeah, he ended up getting the Exodia win for that one. Round 2, we went ahead and sided in Cosmic Cyclones and evenly matched because I wanted to make sure if I could try and pop everything because he was setting cards. He had, what was it, Magic Jar, the one with the single eye and the smile, whatever jar pot that was, and then he had Fiber Jar as well. So he had a lot of the milling cards for trying to get out another Exodia win. But we were able to. I drew 2 Cosmic Cyclones in a row, and I was very stoked about that because I was able to keep him from skill draining me again. So I was able to pop, and we went to timer as well. And we were able to end up tying again, so I was very stoked about that as well.
Nice.
And I got a picture of that after.
Something about people named Justin getting Exodia at Yu-Gi-Oh events. I don't know what it is, but
It just happens.
Yeah, it just happens. Yeah,
it just seems to happen. I remember watching that video. I was like, dang. That was probably an ominous foretelling to my situation at the regionals.
Oh, yeah, I thought that was crazy. You came up to us and said like, "Oh, I just got Exodia." I'm like, I've never even been Exodia.
Yeah.
I was a little bit jealous if I'm being honest with you.
Yeah.
I was super stoked about that. I'm like, I just got Exodia. That is so cool, man. I remember Greg, Team Temple Greg, he kind of looked at me and he rolled his eyes, but I was like, dude, no, this is really funny. This is really funny. So that was my Exodia match, and that was a very exciting match to play against because it was very unique.
And then round 6.
I don't want to talk about this one. I don't want to talk about this one. He ripped out Rabina both turns. He ripped out my Rabinas on both game 1 and 2. Ripped them out. I had no idea that this was a deck at all. I didn't know what this deck did. I'm pretty sure that there were a couple misplays on both misunderstandings on both sides because I know that Necro Valley was specifically in the Fluanderies deck that I was playing, but I didn't know too much about the card because of the way that the text was printed. It's a little hard to read.
It's been errated a couple times too, so if even older printing, it's kind of
the older. I think we had an older printing. I didn't know what to read, and essentially my field summon Rabina went to graveyard, even though it was supposed to go to banish, and he kept trying to tell me that with Necro Valley out that it wouldn't go, and I read the card, and I as a Magic player, I really enjoy my text that I read on Magic cards because it's more easy to understand in the way that it's formatted and written. At least in my opinion, it is a lot easier to read. But with the Yu-Gi-Oh cards, they were a little bit more difficult because it's big blocks of text. So not knowing how to read the cards and not really understanding how Necro Valley worked, that cost me the games for this one.
I think you were correct though, because all the flu baby birds say, well, I think all the flu cards in general, monsters say that whenever they leave the field, they're banished instead. So it's not like they're hitting grave and then going to banish. It's like a condition of the card.
Yeah.
So I think that you were correct in that statement, but I'm not 100% sure on that.
And I went ahead and I played just all 6 rounds. I played 6 rounds. I didn't go for 8 because I was getting really exhausted and I had just driven. Not enough sleep. I wish I would have went to bed earlier, but as a first time player, for the regional. I didn't know what I had to do for signing up and trying to format a new deck list with a deck that I didn't know about. It took a little bit of time, so I said I'm just gonna go and we're gonna be done with this. But all in all, I thought it was a really, really fun day to learn and be able to actually understand and play the game. I thought it was a really enjoyable time.
Nice.
Yeah,
What
I'm
was your
glad you had
favorite part?
fun.
What was that, Caleb?
What was your favorite part, would you say?
My favorite part, I think it has to be the. There were two moments. It was being Exodiad, and it was being able to tie the Dogmatic Ethereum deck, specifically that, because I knew I had a little bit of stakes going on because if I was taking the exact same flu deck as another member did, who went X and 8, I knew that I wasn't going to go X and 8. So I was really stoked to know that I was able to, meet the bare minimum, and I was very happy about that. And just being Exodiated was really cool. I mean, let's just be honest, it was really cool. This guy had no playmat either, and he was just slapping his cards down on the
No playmat either.
no
That's
playmat
awesome.
either. I got the picture of that. He had to form it up for me too and everything. I mean, it was a very incredible, because I remember Greg was mentioning that there are people who are playing with the McDonald's trays or the paper towel mats, but this dude had no mat.
That's awesome.
So that was one of my favorite. That has to be the tie between the two.
Nice. Do we have any other questions for Justin?
Yeah, what was how was this experience like changed the way that you're going to be playing the game in the future? Do you think like is it something that you think you're going to continue playing, or did you kind of get turned off by the experience? What's your overall future looking like for Yu-Gi-Oh?
My future for Yu-Gi-Oh is, I think I really, and now that I've had experience in playing in public and away from Master Duel, and being able to actually know how the ins and outs work. I mean, I'm far from being good, but I think this has given me an opportunity, and I think with the aspect of camaraderie that we had all about, because me being able to go to each of the to just everyone in our group at the time, and being able to just be excited about saying, here's what I did right, here's what I did wrong, I'm learning. And this whole thing was a learning experience for me, which I kind of enjoyed the fact that this was my first in public event too, because stakes were a little bit higher, so it made all the impacts a little bit more harder.
Were you nervous for your first round? I know I remember my first regional. I was extremely I was shaking basically because it was my first big event.
I was a little nervous at first because I was more inclined to believe that this. I come from the Magic background, and there's a lot of stereotypes about the Yugioh players that I hear about, and I got worried that a lot of these people are not going to be the nicest people and just kind of stone cold killers. So I was a little concerned about that. But my Snake Eyes, round one Snake Eyes, my opponent offered me gum and just talked to me about how I should have played into the Snake Eyes and how I should have done this and that. So immediately my nervousness went away, because it was just, if we boil it down, it's just some guys playing some cards, we're just all having a good time playing cards. Even the round two, the Runic Spellbook guy was really, really helpful with helping me out with my Rabin, like the Fluonaries deck in general, and just telling me what I should have went for, what I could have done, and it was a really enjoyable, experience for me, 100%.
Yeah, I can definitely agree with that. I know that was like one of the biggest things for me when I started is like talking to people after games and seeing like, hey, what am I doing wrong or what could I do better? What like opinions do you have? I know that helped me out. Like the specific example I give a lot is when I first started playing Thunder Dragon, I was making Titan a lot. And like I just you know shouldn't be doing that. I should be sitting on the other guy and
The other guy, like he doesn't know his name.
Yeah, like he doesn't know his name.
Unbelievable. I can't believe you just called your favorite card the other guy.
but no, that was a big change, and it definitely kind of helped me. And I know I do that a lot as well, as I'll give a lot of people their advice on like what they might have done better, and just that we're all trying to make each other better. That's the type of player I've always been. So
Yeah. As for my future, to circle back to that, I'm definitely gonna invest in playing more. We'll probably go to locals now. We'll probably go to locals. Hopefully, I'll remember to start hitting up locals more often.
No more sleeping in.
No more sleeping in. I'm God's sleepiest soldier when it comes to Friday nights.
Yeah.
As for decks so far, as I brought up earlier, I was running Labyrinth as my main deck specifically, and I feel like I need to put my Labyrinth deck away for just a little bit and then get back, because I feel like she's a harsh mistress where we can really capitalize on playing the game really well as long as I have the proper knowledge. Because I'm making big blunders and mistakes with it, and I keep losing, and that would get me upset and angry about it, because
Yeah.
it hasn't clicked yet for me. I mean, yeah, I know I'm 3 months in, but I when something doesn't click right away for me, I get frustrated about that. So, we might take a step back from just the flu and the Labyrinth deck, and I'm really looking at the new Ashen stuff. I I really like the card art. I don't know how it's going to perform with the next release. I
Hopefully
know it's
better
getting
than it's
support
performing now.
Hopefully,
That's
yes,
all we hope.
because it looks really, really cool, and it looks like it would be really fun to play with, especially blowing up your own field spell and just being able to summon things on your opponent's field and then just bring it right back to yours. At least that's what I saw for the initial wave. I was watching a couple videos on it. I would definitely like to look at into doing Ashen stuff just purely for aesthetics. I'm a big sucker for the aesthetics in cards, and I really like that. My favorite part about Yu-Gi-Oh in general is just the aesthetics. The fact that they know what they're doing for art. They know how to stylize things to fit certain archetypes. And I really, really, really enjoy that tremendously. And that's what kind of turned me to Yu-Gi-Oh! Was I was getting a little sick of the collaborations that Magic the Gathering was having and Hasbro in general, and just kind of tarnishing the art styles a lot. Like, granted, the art styles and different styles in general were really cool, but then you only get like one or two of those per. Where in Yu-Gi-Oh, just looking at a card, it just looks cool. A lot of them just look really cool. The Ashen stuff, very cool.
Yeah, I think
So
that's
that
one
is,
thing we all
yeah.
kind of agreed on when we were talking about it last episode is just like the artwork is awesome, and that's actually the first thing that turned me on to Thunder Dragon was the artwork, and it's kind of how you get your favorite deck. It's something you like playing that you also is aesthetically pleasing. So, how do you feel about the fact that we don't have full art cards? I know that's something that a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh players have always wanted, is like a full art card or anything like that, or at least me.
Well, I definitely wanted that too.
Yeah, I think some cards would look nice in full art.
And it's such a money grab too. They could just like put it in there, and people would buy the crap out of sets.
Exactly.
I specifically like full art cards. I'm a big sucker for full arts and extended arts, and a lot of my Magic decks have extended and full arts just because I really like that they get rid of that border. Because there's something about borders for cards in general that I just don't appreciate as much. And I like I said, aesthetics. The more that you can shove onto a card and extend out that really cool piece of artwork, the happier people are gonna be, the happier that I'm gonna be. I'm willing to open up my pocket, just to grab my wallet and just throw my card down and say, yeah, I'll take all of that. I'm more than happy to do that. If they did that, that'd be incredible. I would 100%. I'd be investing more money into that if they just did full arts and extended arts.
But if Konami's listening, let's make the full arts cheap.
If you're listening, Konami,
I don't want to pay an arm and a leg. Yeah, I don't want to pay an arm and a leg for a full art.
Yeah.
The only thing I'd be worried about is if the full arts would kringle like Magic cards do, because I really don't want to come to an event and have to pull out basically, like those Pringle single serves that they got.
Yep.
That's like my deck box right there, because all those cards would be wrinkled and foiled.
Yeah, especially with how bad the quality control is currently, they'd have to
Yeah.
really increase, put some time and money into it to make sure it's a good product. But awesome. Well, yeah, we're really glad to have you on. We're happy that you came, and it was that you had a good time. Out of 10, what would you rate your overall experience?
Overall experience, I would rate it probably about a 7 or 8. The reason why it's slightly lower on the 7 end is because the drive was bad, but that I'm not counting that as towards the experience. But for my own sake, my nerves were like very, very, very high, and I was very spooked because we had just gotten off the roads and whatnot, and they were kind of bad. So I got scared for a lot of it, and that sort of initially dampened my expectations because I was coming into this expecting to see stone cold killers and people who are just going to be jerks and not even like communicate and try and like be nice and try to help me out, or like they don't have to help me out, but I would at least like a little bit of communication. So
Yeah.
it was initial 7 and it bumped up to 8. And it was very fun to have that sense of camaraderie and just being able to just like even when I came back from the round 4 with Dogmatica, I was able to there was a sense of the camaraderie and just being able to say, "Hey, I just tied," and I was super stoked about that.
Yeah.
So having the sense that a team was behind my back, rooting me on, that was cool. That was a very pleasant experience for me.
Applications for Team Tempo will be up pretty soon.
Yeah.
No, yeah. Are there any last words, shout outs, anything else you wanted to add?
Shout out Bruce for his Fluanderies video on this channel. Very big help. Yeah, ignore the barrier. But I watched that once while I was registering and once before bed, and I knew how to do the chain blocks. The chain blocks are super important because there were times, especially in the Dogmatica, where he tried ashing right away, and I remembered that since I had priority, I was still able to chain link one, Eglin or Rabina, and then chain link two Eglin or Rabina, so that to protect my
Nice.
searches.
Nice.
So shout out to that super informative video. Um, Shout out to everyone watching. Thank you for taking the time to watch. We really appreciate it. And just shout out you guys as well for letting me on here and letting me able to speak about my experience. It was a really
Yeah, of
fun event.
course,
Yeah.
we're happy to have you.
Yeah, thanks for
Yep.
coming on.
Thanks for joining us, Justin.
Absolutely.
All right, so the overall experience, out of 32 total matchups, you can kind of see the pie chart there. A lot of one-offs, but mostly Snake Eyes, Voiceless, Cash, a couple Brandy, a couple Pearlies.
This is just
So-
all 4 of us together.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And then obviously, if you take out a lot of the matchups with that Justin had, it probably changes it up a little bit, but it gives an overall idea of what we all saw.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're just going to kind of do a couple of announcements, things that have come out since the last episode, things that we wanted to talk about. The first thing was the OCG ban list actually just dropped. Was it yesterday, the day before?
It was
The day of
on
the
Sunday.
event is on Sunday.
Yeah.
Nice. So yeah, we'll kind of go over that. There was no bans.
No
so it's
bans.
probably
That's
limited.
wild. In my eyes, that's wild. They didn't ban any cards.
So yeah, title went from 0 to 1. I think we all agree that's okay. The wanted was kind of nice to see 3 to 1.
Yeah, we even talked
It's a
about that.
heavy hit.
We talked about in the last episode too. Like as a consistency hit, that would have been a pretty good hit to see, and obviously they saw it too.
Yep, and then just the Tikaboo going to 1. I don't think title's going to do anything. Be interesting to see how Snake Eye, if they are still going to be
Functions. Yeah.
the better deck, and then obviously how that's going to reflect on us over here.
Mhm.
But not a bad limited list. The next two are a lot bigger. The semi-limited.
Yeah, we have Ib the World Chalice Justicar, 1 to 2.
Yeah, it definitely it can just go to 3. I don't think a
Yeah.
lot of people are even playing this card
Like,
anymore.
It might have some like FTKs to it, but I don't think they're as consistent enough.
Yeah.
Plus under maxi in the OCG, I don't know how that would do.
Mm-hmm.
This is a wild hit right here. SP Little Knight 3 to 2.
I think it's because people are like on Pot of Extravagance like big time over in the OCG. So
Yeah.
they're trying
Does
to
make
like
sense.
so they're trying to make it so like you have like if you hit 1 or 2, you're playing with less little, But
yeah,
it does
it's
seem
just
like a weird hit.
wild to see compared to the TCG because Little Knight is so expensive here. Well, compared to the OCG, they have like a couple different printings of it. It's a lot cheaper.
Mm-hmm.
More easily accessible.
Yep. And then this is a wild hit. The Fire King High Avatar Kirin. We were talking about it last week. We didn't think it was like for the TCG meta. I don't think it would be hit, but in the OCG, because like Fire King's probably a lot stronger over there compared to here, 3-2. Like over here, just at this regional, I was only playing 2 Kirin as well in my Fire King Snake Eyes list. It's just gonna be wild to see. And then up next we have the Snake Eyes Ash 3-2, with the Seeker Sinful Spoils being put to 1, this being put to 2. It's a lot of big hits for the deck right now.
Yeah, just consistency wise, yeah. I would have liked to see it go to 1, but OCG likes their 2 ofs, so.
That's been needing to be hit for probably a little bit longer than they've had it for OCG. There's Kaiser Coliseum finally going to 2.
Yeah, because they've been playing that in. This is like a Tenpai Dragon hit, so.
Yep.
I hope this card doesn't come back in the TCG. I hope they never bring it back.
Yeah, I'd be okay with that.
Yeah.
Make Vados better.
Yeah.
Kaiser Coliseum 3-2.
Yeah. Pot of Extravagance to 2. I feel like all the pot cards are like hit in the OCG now. Like they're either at 1 or 2.
Yeah.
I think drawing into Maxi could be a big reason.
Yep.
That they're a little bit more hit over there than they are here. Obviously, that's such a meta-defining card that you want to see it as much as you can. So you're going to get all the draw cards you can if you don't open it, So it makes sense. And it's kind of nice to see it go to 2 along with ESP, just to kind of, shy people away from playing that. But it'll be interesting to see if it actually changes or if people still play 2.
Mm-hmm. And then the Unlimiteds. Some sources got an errata. We're going to talk about that after this, but that going to 3, I thought I'd never see that card come back, and at all, ever. The card's insane. Girsu, obviously that card should be at 3. Orcus is the best deck ever created, so it deserves to be free. Darkworm. I know pendulums, specifically like the Supreme King, like magicians are kind of big over in the OCG, so I guess it's just a little boost to their deck because I'm pretty sure it's like a 1-card starter. This is like their Stratos for that deck. Right to 3. That Adventure Engine is just like falling off so hard. Like I remember when
stuff is like hit over there, so yeah.
Well, I think it's all free now. This was the last one. I think. Like, Water Enchantress is at 3, and, like, I think, what's his name is back too, Griffin Rider. Because, it was really big for a while, and then people just stopped playing it, and they brought it back slowly.
Got power crept.
Yeah.
Yeah, they got hit in the OCG when we were supposed to get hit in the TCG, but it just kind of banned or dodged every ban list.
Yeah, and now in the TCG... I was going to say, now in the TCG, nobody plays it, and we never had any of their cards touch the ban list ever. So
it's more of an engine for bodies at this point, which was always kind of surprising. That you think you'd want to get out the negate, but a lot of variants nowadays just use it for the synchro material.
Mm-hmm. Infernity Launcher probably should have been put to 3 a long time ago. Who's playing Infernities in 2024? And then this last change I think is wild. I can't believe they have Change of Heart at 3.
Yeah, it's interesting. What do we have? We have Brain Control at 3, right? And Mind Control's at 1. This is at 1. Snatch Shield's at 1.
Yeah, all like the steel cards.
Is it Mind Control at 2?
No, I think they put it back at 1. It was at 2 for a while. But yeah, I think all those are at 1.
It'd be interesting if that's kind of like the Pink theory that, now that if it goes from 2 to 3, it's going to be played a lot more just as a more consistent side deck piece. So it'd be interesting to see.
I think in the OCG meta compared to the TCG meta, because of the Maxi again, is just a different game over there.
Yeah, that's why they're allowed to play like weird like 1-ofs or 2-ofs of like hand traps. Like you see like a lot of decks in the OCG play like 1 nib because they're like, I'll just draw it off Maxi. Like, it's just like weird stuff like that, and it kind of makes me glad that we don't have Max C, because then we would start to get into like weird ban lists like this. I kind of like our ban lists where they're either like they're like usually like go big or go home. You know what I mean? Like they like ban a lot of cards or bring a lot of cards back, and I enjoy that compared to looking at lists like this. Like, I don't want to see SP Little Knight at 2 on a ban list. You know what I mean?
I agree.
So,
the OCG isn't real, so.
yeah, it isn't real, but we wanted to talk about it because it is news.
Anyway.
Yeah. Anyway.
The most important thing about this ban list is that the Summon Sorcerer errata.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see when it comes over here. If it comes over here, I'm assuming it would, but and how it's going to get played, especially over there, because they like to kind of look into things and make a lot of the plays that we end up getting here in the TCG after a couple months.
But speaking of Summer Sorcerers, here's the errata.
Cereals, 2+ non-token monsters with the same type. You can only use the effect of this card's name once per turn. 1. If this card is Link Summon, you can special summon one monster from your hand in defense position to your opponent's zone this card points to, but negate its effects. Then you can special summon one monster with the same type as that monster from your deck in defense position, but negate its effect. And if you do that, you can special summon for the rest of this turn, except monsters with the same original type as that monster summoned from the deck. So, I played when Summon Sorcerers was at its peak in like Goki. This card is just so wild that is now off the list, but with now the errata, I don't think it's gonna do as much as it was before. I just think it's like oh cool, it's out now. But like for most decks that like could use it, I think it would have a high impact in those decks.
Yeah, before it said on Link Summon, you special summon from hand, and then a separate effect, in Ignition, you can target it and then special summon, but it just negates the effects. So the difference is this one is kind of one continuous effect that keeps going, and then it obviously locks you for the rest of the turn, which is the big errata, which is probably going to turn people off to it. There are a couple decks that I think that are, Cole and did some research that might help out. So if you wanted to go over that, maybe.
Yeah, some ones that I found that I guess could have potential. Dragon Link. I feel like this was the obvious one. I mean, you're playing all dragons, so you're just allowed to get like whatever you need. And some like weird funny ones like volcanic zombies. But I mean, those decks aren't obviously like nobody's played those decks in forever. But this could put a boost to them, I guess, if it helps them with their combo. Travi will be happy to hear this, but I think Phantom Knights gets a big boost from this. I mean, all being the same type, and if you just say like you summon like Silent Boots to their side of the field, and then you get out one of yours, and then you this is a dark, so I mean you can use that as well for going into your Phantom Knight Link monsters, and then once you get rid of that one card, it gets put that you special summon to your opponent's field. You just have access to it in your graveyard. You can banish it to get the effects off. One of the bigger ones coming up here, the Yugioh. This is going to be huge for that deck, just to be able to cheat out monsters and stuff. And then Rock gets a huge boost, especially because Black Dragon is going to be coming off the list here pretty soon. So to get this and Black Dragon would be huge.
Yeah, I know there's a couple other decks that it would be interesting in, but you got to be careful because a lot of decks will lock you into a certain monster type or attribute beforehand. So getting into a Dark Spellcaster that's a Link 3 is typically hard. Like I know Plant was the one that I thought of, but obviously you get locked into Plant relatively early, and it'd be kind of hard to make this. There's a couple other ones, so it's kind of the one thing that's going to be also another difficulty with it, but I'm sure that it'll get some play somewhere in some rogue decks. I don't think it'll be anything that's super meta-defying by any chance.
Next, we're going to be talking about the tins coming out. This is huge news, especially to see Yugioh being reprinted so early on.
Yeah, so the 8 that we got are Power of the Elements, Photon Hypernova, Cyberstorm Access, Duelist Nexus, Age of Overlord, Maze of Memories, Amazing Defenders, and Wild Survivors. So it's a pretty big list. Power of the Elements is getting printed for the 3rd run because they got an unlimited print, which is interesting. But like you said, the Yugioh is super nice. The side sets stink, but it is what it is.
really skipped over Darkwing Blast too with
True.
this.
Well, wasn't that last tin? They like printed.
Was that last 10? Oh
yeah,
yeah,
they printed the
Fenrir.
cash stuff, and
Yep.
then they printed
That's right.
and
But
the
just to kind
Bistils
of
and stuff.
to go over a couple of different things that are in each set that might have the chance of getting reprinted. So Power of the Elements, there's the tier stuff, Sprite stuff, Exo Sister, some Goaty cards, Kurikara, Ultimate Slayer, Garura. And then Photon Hypernova, we have Thrust, Kashtira. It looks like Granny and Rinbrum was in there, Gold Pride, Gravekeeper's Inscription, and Big Welcome. Cyberstorm Access, we have the Quem, which I think is going to be a big one, especially for branded players who may be on a budget. Chaos Angel's another one that's relatively expensive. Same with Dispatter, Sanctifier. And we have the Manadium, Lulu Wellith, Wakashi. Could get it up, nice rarity bump.
Yeah, my
Time
boy.
Turner
Make him a secret rare.
And just a couple other things. Duelist Nexus was a stinky set, but Crimson Dragon was in there, Yama was in there, Rev Synchron, Corridor, some Chimera stuff, things like that. And then Agov, which is the big one. SP Little Knight, everybody's going to be looking for those. That's probably going to be the money set or money card of the set. But you have the Snake Eye stuff, the Horus stuff, the lab support, the Typhon, things like that. So, and then nothing too important in the 3 sets since they're already reprint sets. But
I was going to say, I thought it was really weird to do Maze of Memories, because that is a reprint set. And, like, there's only, like, 2 or 3 good cards out of that set.
Yeah, it was Cell Synchron, Baron, and Guardian Chimera.
Yeah, and it's like, it just felt really weird to see that as one of the ones that they wanted to do. But
and then Amazing Defenders was Pearly, Big Conco, and Rescue Ace. Wild Survivors, the Ground Xeno reprint's going to be really nice.
Yeah, because that card's like weirdly expensive, I think. It's like $30 or something like that. It's kind of wild.
Same with the Vanquish Soul stuff. And then Noblesse is the other one that's in there. And they had a couple of promo cards with alt arts that are, I think, pretty interesting. I think the Raigeki's my favorite there.
Dude, no, for sure that tuning goes hard. My boy Junk Synchron giving the fist, dude. That artwork goes hard.
Got the HFD, the limiter removal, which is the one that we kind of couldn't figure out, but after we looked at it a little bit better, you could see the gauge in the background there. And then you have Dark Magician Girl, which is going to be another money card because it's an alt art. It's QCR. Red Eyes and Raigeki, so I'm excited. I didn't really like last year's tins. I don't have super high hopes for this one, but it doesn't look too bad, at least so far.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the biggest selling point of it is going to be SP. I mean, people are going to buy and try to get SP because, I mean, everything else in it is kind of like whatever.
Yeah.
But
that's if SP gets the reprint.
Yeah,
I'm more curious to see what dodges the reprint.
That would be wild if SP didn't.
Yeah.
And then the last thing that we wanted to talk about was just a little bit more support that got announced. So we got some Trickstar support.
Yeah, starting off Trickstar Hoodie, the level 2 light fairy effect monster. You can only use both the effects once per turn. If you control a Trickstar Fusion or Link monster, you can special summon this card from your hand, and if it's into the graveyard as material for a Link summon of a Trickstar monster, you can add a Trickstar Fusion or Trickstar Defusion from your deck to your graveyard, or from your deck to your hand. I mean, this seems... I don't know much about how Trickstars play now. I just remember back in the day when it was like Reincarnation, Droll, Reincarnate. You know what I mean? It was like that weird deck, but I really know much about it now, but this card seems pretty good.
Not a starter, but an extender, and then it also searches your fusion cards, which is always really good.
It's a level 2, it's sprite support. But the fusion they got seems okay as well. Trickstar Band Drumettes. Is that Dramatis? I don't even know how to say that word. Dramatis. Yeah. It's a level 6 light fairy fusion effect monster. 2 Trickstar monsters. You can only use the first and third effect of this card's name each once per turn. If this card's fusion summoned, you can add 1 Trickstar card from your deck to your hand with a different name from the cards you control or in your graveyard. I think that's a weird effect because it's like this card's value gets worse the later the game goes on. So it's like I kind of don't like that they put that in there, but
like you can think about it, it can search any card in the deck.
It can search
a
any
spell or
card.
a trap.
Yeah.
Which most likely isn't going to be in the graveyard, especially turn one. But yeah, like you said, the later it goes, the worse it gets, which is definitely an interesting clause, but not terrible by any means.
And then the second effect is your Trickstar Link monsters that this card points to gain 1,000 attack. Huge! They're getting strong. They're getting buffed up. And then the third effect, if either player takes effect damage, you can target one face-up monster on the field and change its attack to 0. It's okay.
It's alright. I think it just goes well with the other cards that were released with it.
Yeah.
Seems like that's their niche, their little gimmick or one of the gimmicks that they tend to do.
Like the new gimmick for this deck, yeah.
Yeah, I wish it would have said, like, target one and negate it or something else. Like, because Sang and I were talking before the podcast about this. Like, this just seems like a really weird effect, but at least it adds one, right?
Yeah, it's a searcher.
Searcher.
Yeah.
But it is a fusion monster, though.
Yeah. And then they got this really weird Link 1. We were talking about this, too. I'm not even going to attempt to butcher that name. But it takes... Colchica. It takes one non-Link Trickstar monster. And you can only special summon this card once per turn. And then you can only use the effect of this card's name once per turn. When a monster is destroyed by battle involving your Trickstar monster, while this card's in your graveyard, you could banish this card and then target one of those destroyed monsters. Inflict damage to your opponent equal to the attack it had on the field.
So that procs the effects. But
yeah.
It's still weird.
It's still a really weird Link 1 because, like, Sang and I were talking, like, it does nothing for you on the field. Like, you're basically, like, using this to Link climb, like, and try to get it in grave.
Yeah, get stuff in the grave, too, as well. Just a Link 1. It's material if you don't have anything to go into, especially with the new one that extends, like, just normal summon, it gets impermed or whatever it might be, go into the Link 1, and then you can extend into that, which is pretty nice, so something.
I also like the mistranslation in the name as well. Trickstar Cortica.
Cortica?
Yeah, we're not sure what they're going to be yet.
Yep.
I'm sure that they'll change it up again.
They'll have probably a different English translation, but these
Yeah.
are just released in the OCG.
My other take from this card is I do like that it says the attack it had on the field. So it's not like if it has an attack boost on the field that it loses when it leaves the field.
It doesn't say original attack.
Yeah. So that's kind of nice, I guess. The little saving grace of this card, but it is kind of weird.
This guy just gets cooked by Sarravis in Voiceless Voice against the Voiceless
True.
Voice matchup.
True. It just get cooked by that deck.
Well, it does target your destroyed monster.
One of those destroyed monsters.
Yeah.
Oh, that makes sense. Okay, yeah.
Well, I mean, Sarravis wouldn't be able to protect it if it's destroyed. But yeah. I guess the second effect of just if this card hits the field, then you just banish it. But and then they got the Link 2, which this is probably the saving grace of this support because all the other supports is kind of mid. Trickstar Noble Angel. It's a Link 2 Light Fairy Link effect monster. It takes 2 Trickstar monsters, and it has a whole whopping 3 effects. You can only use them once per turn. If this card's Link Summon, you can add 1 blue tier card from your deck to your hand. I'm pretty sure there's only 1 blue tier card in the TCG right now, and it sucks, and then they got another one. So, but if you... the second effect, if you have a fusion monster on your field or in your graveyard, you can target 1 Trickstar monster in your graveyard and special summon it. We like to see that. It just has to be in play somewhere. And then if either player takes effect damage, you can target 1 face-up card on the field and destroy it. So it just seems like they're probably going to end on this and then the fusion. They're gonna try to burn you. I don't know. I don't really see the lines with this, but this card's good for their deck.
It does. Yeah, it's interesting. It's I don't know. I don't think it's going to do anything, but for people who like Trickstar, I know that Justin, the guy we just had on, was interested in playing it. So, it's got its people, it's got its fan base, and I believe it was a anime.
Yeah, I think it's an anime deck. Yeah. And then they got a trap card. We all know how we feel about trap cards on the podcast. Too slow and just awful. And this one just is just weird. But it's Trickstar Defusion. You can only use the first and second effect of this card's name each once per turn. You activate one of these effects. Fusion summon 1 Trickstar fusion monster from your extra deck by banishing materials from your graveyard. Or you can immediately after this effect resolves, link summon 1 Trickstar monster. I don't know, it just seems pretty awful.
Not bad. I mean, it's a quick fusion or quick
It's a fusion, yeah.
Yeah.
What is it actually doing is the real question.
True. And then you can banish this card from your graveyard, then target 1 Trickstar monster you control this turn. Your opponent cannot target monsters for attacks except that monster while you control it. I mean, at least you can use both the effects in the
It's
same
searchable
turn.
as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is searchable.
So it's a one-of, but yeah.
Yeah, it just doesn't seem the greatest. And then they got, look at this again, another trap card. But at least this one's a blue tier, so the Link monster can search it.
So the first one I'm looking at right now is Angel of Blue Tears. Just kind of read it off. Target 1 face-up monster on the field. Its controller takes damage equal to the number of cards in their hand times 200. Then negate that target's effects until the end of this turn. And then if effect damage is inflicted, except during the damage step, you can banish it from your graveyard to set a normal trap directly from your hand or deck.
Oh, that's
Just
not
any
bad.
Normal trap.
Yeah.
I thought it was a lot worse than that. That's actually pretty good.
If it's set from the hand, it can be activated this turn as well. So, kind of interesting. It's got like the Arius effect, but that's the old one. So this is the new one here.
Yeah, so it's a normal trap, Maiden of Blue Tears. You can only use one of the first and second effects of this card's name per turn and only once that turn. So you could choose between the two, basically. And if your opponent special summons a monster and you control a Link monster, target one of those summoned monsters, destroy it, and if you do, inflict damage to your opponent equal to half its original attack. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a trap.
It's a trap.
If it was a quick play, maybe.
Yeah. I mean, it could be like a cool like side deck card, like as a tech, you know, because I mean, you just have to control a Link monster. It doesn't even have to be a Trickstar card.
That's
so
true.
I mean, if you're like going first, I guess like set it up and.
Well, this one just says if your opponent special summons a monster. Oh yeah, and you control a Link monster.
Yeah.
So yeah, you know, if you have a Link monster in the IP, or obviously on their turn as well, which is what it's made for. But yeah.
And then if either player takes effect damage while this card's in your graveyard, you can banish this card, then target one normal spell in your graveyard or banishment, set it, but it cannot be activated this turn.
And they're just generic spell, which is pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
You can reset your talents for next turn or your thrust for next turn.
Yeah. Yeah, it just seems whatever. It's Trickstars in 2024. I feel like I say that a lot on the podcast. Like, I mean, they're trying to like give these old decks support, and I just feel like they kind of just missed the mark on a lot of them.
Yeah.
It is nice to see the support.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it's not doing much, which I think they do on purpose. Obviously, they don't want everything that they make or support to be broken and good. But at least playable in today's format. Which a lot of these decks that they have been supporting haven't been for quite some time. So it's a nice little upgrade at least.
But I think that's all we got for the episode. We appreciate you guys tuning in and watching. I'm glad that we got Justin on here to talk about his first regional experience. You guys have anything else to say?
Just thank you for watching.
Yeah, make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe, give us answer your question of the day, and then also let us know how we can improve, what we can do better. We're just trying to get better with this whole thing, and talk about our opinions. Obviously, there's a lot of other people that went with us. We had 10 people total to the regional, and we had another guy on the team that did top as well. So it's just something that we're trying to get better at and trying to improve so that we can share what we learn with the rest of the team and just get better together.
Thanks for watching.
Yep.
Shout out Free Colossus.